Hi.
Hey, welcome to the Watson Weekend, your weekly dose of e-commerce irreverence. I'm your host, Rick Watson, and unlike Amazon and Venmo, Jess and I are still together.
You're stuck with me.
That's a good thing. I'm feeling good coming out of this week. I don't know if you heard about something that happened this week. It was Shopify's Investor Day.
I did. And I imagine you sitting there, you pop some popcorn, you kick back, and you're just taking it all in. Like, what's it like in Rick Watson's house or apartment or studio?
I don't know. This is like the Super Bowl for the notebook guy. You get to hear everything. Harley pumping up the business, Toby trying to understand what he's talking about, Jeff Hoffmeister pumping up the stock, and then everyone else is trying to figure out, is this a payments company or is this a software platform?
Yeah, I actually have a curveball question for you. Who would play Harley whenever they inevitably do a docu-series or story about Shopify?
I'm trying to think.
That
Like, it
would
has
be
to
a
be
hit
somebody
man.
who has like very high energy.
Yeah, like
Um,
I could see Bradley Cooper bringing some kind of flair. Bobby Cannavale, there could be something interesting there.
Bobby Cannavale. I think that would do it. It's been a busy, obviously this week, a lot of baby prep. It seems like every day there's so much news. Did you know that December 8th is one of those days where a lot of things happened in history? Some things fun, some things sad.
I love though that you're bringing this flair because it's always nice to look back on what happened on this day. So hit me with some facts.
All right. Here's a few true facts for you.
Okay, true story, not
Nicki
fake.
Minaj, born 1982, December
Very
8th.
grateful for her. Very grateful.
Sammy Davis Jr., 1925.
Also good.
David Carradine, Kill Bill himself,
Yeah.
1936.
Okay.
Grasshopper. Those Who Left Us, John Lennon, 1980.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
And 2010, you know what this one is. SpaceX becomes the first privately held company to launch, orbit, and recover a spacecraft. Remember when Elon was popular?
Yeah, he's not. So there we go.
Yeah, especially those people directly paying them money.
True story. I don't think he said that to the SpaceX investors, but we'll see. So now I think we're at the part where we want to bring on our guest. We don't do bad guest here on the Watson Weekend, and I'm super excited about what we're gonna bring on. And before we actually do that, I think we're gonna get into the Walmart rom-com series. It's Walmart. And this is all kinds of special in so many ways. Do you think they'll have an IMDb cred for? Let's just kind of walk through what's happening here.
Yeah. And so is this Below Deck?
This is Below Deck because this is Walmart's kind of first integration where they're going to be actually going through the Below Deck series. And as the series pops up,
I mean, as I remember, the people in Below Deck weren't wearing any clothes, yet this woman is wearing shoes.
I think so, because she is going to be cleaning the deck, so she probably has to have some boat specific shoes to clean the deck, which is great. I don't know what they'll do when I guess they'll at least have people in string bikinis. Then they'll take them off once they get into the hot tub, and there'll be a pop-up ad of like, "Want this string bikini?"
Well, it's a Bonobos bikini. Oh no, wait, they sold that.
Yeah, no, she gone. No longer there. But yeah, this is pretty interesting because it's just the whole nature of e-commerce meets movie meets like micro series. I just am trying to figure out what is the audience for this. Do we need this in our lives?
That's a negative, Ghost Rider. I'm not sure we need, but I think holiday time, you kind of up the cheese factor and people get into it. Like you get into your matching family PJs.
Yeah.
You curl up on the couch, you get under a blanket, you get out your popcorn, and then you watch some rom-coms.
Yeah, I get that. I know we got to move on. My last thing that I'll say here is that I don't find that it's going to work when you actually have to script your story around the position of where the shoes need to be when they hit the spot. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And I think it's time we bring on Kathy.
I'm excited. We don't do any bad guests on the show, and today is really no different. Before we bring Kathy on, I mean, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is currently the global head of digital e-commerce solutions for ICP, which is, and Kathy's going to have to explain this to me because I'm not sure I understand it, operationalizing the frictionless flow of marketing content across the ecosystem for top brands everywhere. And she has held so many top positions at large retailers, including, let's list them out, Jess. Pottery Barn, Gap, Macy's, Body Shop, including some .bombs we learned before the show. And we'll have to talk about that in a second. Really amazing. Let's bring her in. Welcome to the show, Kathy Aronson.
Welcome, Kathy.
Hi. So excited
glad
to be here, you guys.
Oh my gosh, so glad you're here. I guess what people don't know is Kathy and I actually met 10 years ago. It wasn't on this day, but it was at a conference very near and dear to the e-commerce of old heart, IRCE. And it's just wonderful. And it actually shows how small the world of e-commerce really is. So
absolutely. And we all survived. We're here 10 years later, Jess.
We're still kicking it. We still love it.
We're still here. I think they just changed the letters. Now they call it rice.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kathy, we have a fun little game that we like to play. It's 2 truths and a lie. So we're going to kick it off with you. We've got Kathy is a twin. Kathy has completed a triathlon. Kathy has worked at a .com that Amazon acquired.
I don't think Kathy's a twin, so I'm going to think that one is a lie.
What's the right answer?
My .com was not acquired by Amazon, and I am a twin, Rick.
Oh,
yes, we got him. We got him.
Are you an identical twin?
A fraternal twin. I have a sister.
That's
I thought we gave it away because we talked about Sephora acquiring the .com.
I blew it.
Yeah, it's okay. TickPad, Jessica, and Kathy won. Done.
100%.
All right. So I think that we're also going to talk about a new segment that Kathy has inspired, which is the word of the week. So Kathy, kind of tell us a little bit about it.
Of the week is Riz. Which is charisma, which I was excited to join you guys and get a little bit of your Riz.
Yeah. It's also, Rick doesn't know what this means.
This is the first time I'm hearing that Riz was short for charisma.
It kind of became a thing because they were asking, I think, Tom Holland if he had Riz. And he said, no, I don't have any Riz. But it just means you're attractive to the opposite sex. You've got charisma. People want to be around you, just like the two of you guys.
You've got the it factor. So.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. You got it. Jess got it.
I like that. I don't know that I've ever been associated with Riz, but Kathy 100% just made my day. So thank you.
Yay.
I'm going to take that one with me and tuck it under my pillow for a cold, dark night.
This show has Riz. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think we're going to get back to the weekend and what we've got on deck. Rick, lay it out for us.
We have a number of cool topics, but first of all, I want to make sure that you guys know, be sure to type in, we're watching your comments during the show. Type in where you're dialing in from. Are you dialing in, first of all? Separate topic.
Are we using AOL dial up here?
Yeah, I'm on a modem here. Here are the topics. Shopify's Investor Day. Come on, notebook guy. Second, the robots are winning. Let's talk about AI. Shein putting mounting pressure on Amazon. They just changed their fees. Neiman Marcus gave the Heisman the Sachs. That's an issue. And then we have the Happy Jess Index.
That's why I'm the head.
But first, if you have anything you want to cover today, we're going to go into Shopify first. That's where the notebook guy is. We're going to have the most home. And obviously, look, an investor day. What's an investor day? It's really a place where Shopify can beg investors to give them better ratings, to add them to their portfolio. So how can we add their investor strategy here? It started out with a sort of like a fireside chat between Toby and Harley, reminiscing about the old days. It was sweet. They whispered sweet nothings into each other's ears in front of a whole room full of investors, which, by the way, I didn't get an invite. Hello, Shopify, next time. I'm in freaking New York City.
We're going to work on
The
that.
conference was in New York City. I got notebook guy. Maybe they didn't want to write things down in my notebook. I get it. All right. A few slides that I thought were interesting that we could talk over. This is an interesting slide. I think it talks a little bit about Shopify's different lines of business, subscriptions, payments and processing, some things that are they called scaled products, and then emerging products. There's a whole bunch of stuff in emerging products. Shop Promise, by the way, you see that on the bottom of the screen there, it says Shop Promise. That's the only mention Shop Promise got all day.
What does you think?
I think, I don't know, Amazon Buy with Prime, I think took a billy club to Shop Promise after that partnership.
Is this the last Investor Day we'll hear about Shop Promise or hear the word Shop Promise?
Remains to be seen. The subscription solutions, it's growing pretty fast, but if you look at the biggest part of the business that's growing the fastest is payments. If you're already half the business and growing 60%, it's going to keep being the biggest part of the business. And so the other thing I think that was interesting, this kind of gives you some idea of Shopify's gross margins, headwinds and tailwinds to gross margins. What contributes to their gross margins? Subscriptions give their better gross margins. Payments give them slightly worse gross margins. What are you going to best has the most impact on the business? It actually matches what payments is. So that's kind of another thing that came up today. And then something that I know you guys both track is market share for platforms. This was a slide that Shopify put up. Mid-market, large, and enterprise. I'm not sure what the definitions are. I don't like being described as large. I don't know if some of these merchants are offended.
I'm sure they don't even notice, Rick. I kind of going back to that previous slide on subscriptions, I think that Shopify is a platform and that's what they should be focused on. I know that they've been trying to do other things such as loyalty and driving traffic, but that's traditionally been done by the retailer or the seller. And I know they keep dabbling in those areas because they think they're like Amazon, but Amazon's more of a marketplace. Shopify is really a platform tool. And so everybody that I know that loves Shopify are individual retailers that are using the tool itself. That's where Shopify shines. I mean, I think it's great they're dabbling in these other things. I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to do the job of driving traffic and conversion and loyalty, because those are traditionally done by the retailer themselves or the marketplace.
Yeah, it's really tough for them. I can see why it's attractive, right? You could almost think Shopify in these rooms is kicking back and forth. Hey, why can't we be some kind of digital mall? And why can't we aggregate all of these things together and utilize what we have as a benefit? But they just cannot crack this code. So I think what else, like Kathy, are you thinking? Like, what other sector of the market should take notice based on what happened at?
Well, I mean, I think that what I love about what Shopify is doing is building the AI tools into their platform and innovating there. I think if they can focus on the actual platform itself and making sure it's cutting edge and working for its people, I think from an investor standpoint, of course, they always want diversification, but all of these other areas that they want to play in are very expensive, as we've talked about: payments, fulfillment, loyalty, marketing. From an investor standpoint, I'm glad that they're focusing on the core product itself and that they're continuing to get more and more stickiness on their platforms from their users. So I think in the end, they're riding the tightrope, but they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, Shopify they definitely gave a lot of play to AI. And I think one of the things that they made it clear was that as the company grows, the support and service teams are not going to grow as fast as the revenue, which means that Jeff Hoffmeister, the CFO, says free cash flow is important to us. And we're not going back on our strategy of not hiring, over hiring, which I guess they kind of implied that they overhired during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they laid off a lot of people earlier this year. And you haven't heard a lot of that since then, but they were very clear to tell Wall Street, we're not going to overhire again. Please, our margins are going to stay.
But not everyone loved the news, right? So what is that about? It was very mixed results. Did they just not hear enough of excitement?
If you kind of go back to what does the business look like? One of the things that happens is like, look, Shopify is growing very fast. Their great GMV is growing fast. And as you can tell from their stats, they're taking share from a lot of different other platforms. And those are all things that are true. But at the end of the day, no matter what solutions that they're adding SMB, they're adding enterprise, they're adding POS, they're adding offline. How they make money is still payments. Wall Street was looking for really two things. Number one is like, can we give them guidance for 2024, which they didn't really give great guidance. But they kind of told people they weren't going to do that. And then second is, can they expand gross margins? And they really give no indication that they're going to expand gross margins, which means that there are only two ways that Shopify can grow at this stage. One is they can add more customers, and then they can sell more things to the same customers.
Yep.
But it's not like they have an AWS or an advertising business like Amazon. And so I think Wall Street, from my point of view, is waiting for Shopify to have that AWS.
Kathy brought up a good point of they're not knowing their place. And Nick actually in the comments said, if payments really is where they're getting the growth, the obstacle for them is in the enterprise. They now have this conflicting strategy, right? They want to go up market. They're going after enterprise. Payments is their growth strategy. Big companies don't want to be held hostage. Can they reconcile these two things that conflict with each other?
As they move to these merchant enterprise, the path is going to become clearer for them if they can really be successful in that space. But again, my belief is they're a platform. They should be focused on the product and making that the best product it could be. And yes, it's very tempting to think that you could be an Amazon and that you could drive traffic and that you could do advertising, you could do other things. But those are very expensive things to do. And I just don't think Shopify can offer that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Shopify, it to some extent recognizes that. One of the fun quotes I got out of the earnings call, I think everything's an earnings call, right? Of the investor day is they were like, we're not trying to give sellers fish. We're trying to teach them the fish.
Yes.
And I think giving them fish would basically mean sending them traffic. And so I think they recognize that they're not going to be good at that. And so I think that's interesting there. If you have comments about Shopify, things that we would like to cover, AI was definitely a focus for them. I'd love to move on to our next segment where we're talking about the robots are winning. So this is our AI segment, and some of the things that we're gonna talk about, I think are gonna be fun for you guys.
Yeah,
I love that meme.
This is this is the state of the art of AI. No, this is my future. Oh no!
Oh no,
she's down.
We knocked out the baby.
This is no good. I mean, look, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about in the AI today. My first question is there too much hype already?
Yes, there is. I would love to hear Kathy's.
Well, I was going to say yes. The answer is yes. There's too much hype, and it's super exciting. So I'm super excited about AI, especially being someone who focuses on the digital shelf and content and getting content to the digital shelf. It's like AI is a game changer for all the merchants who are on this call or people running an e-commerce business. They know there's so many SKUs to manage on so many different channels, whether it's direct to consumer or omni-channel, marketplaces and so on. And so AI to me is the big unlock of what we call the long tail. We were never able to get to the long tail. We were never able to have the great perfect content health scorecard or have the time to update our SEO search terms for each platform, for each item. And so I'm excited about the robots that are coming to work next to me by my side to help me get the long tail done. So
I love that. And I think that when I have this visceral reaction of yes, I think it's because of this positioning of AI is going to solve all the world's problems. And we have these like big, attractive, glitzy things that we want it to do, when it really becomes like this the brass tacks of e-commerce. It is exactly what you said, Kathy. It is, optimizing your SEO terms. It's analyzing and crunching data. And I know that we really want to break through in this, have a shopper assistant that is going to be the AI guide to help you navigate your website. And have you seen anybody do that well yet? Anything you've played around with?
Not really. I mean, I'm a little nervous about it because we just mentioned keywords and how to embed keywords into your content, for your product detail page. It'll be interesting when we understand the algorithms better for the, kind of AI powered kind of shopping discovery tools that end up taking traction. And then we'll have to figure out as content people, how do we embed that into the content so that when you ask your AI chatbot, like, what are the best 3 tennis shoes to go running in, that your product is the one that serves up. But Jess, I don't know who's going to win here. I mean, I'm assuming Amazon and even Shopify and others are working on this technology today, and we'll learn from there.
Who do you think will win in the landscape when you look at, OpenAI, you look at Gemini's coming? Oh,
yesterday.
she got canceled. Well, the event got canceled, came yesterday. And was there a little bit of nuance to the rollout and the product demos? Maybe not.
I think, well, they canceled it. It came back, and then they faked it. It was like Milli Vanilli of AI.
What the quack? Did you guys see the little video?
I saw the quack. I saw rock, paper, scissors.
Yes.
But that was the fake one. Don't look behind the curtain.
Yes.
The Oz is not ready.
I think they hid some of the prompts that they used in that
Mhm.
very slick Gemini video, but I still loved it. I just loved the possibility of it. And I thought that was super excited. As far as Gemini, it's hard for me to imagine that's who I'm looking to as an e-commerce leader right now, because Google has been challenged all on the way every time they've attempted anything having to do with shopping and Google shopping. So I'm interested, obviously, to see what Amazon continues to do here. And then Apple, who's been very silent behind the scenes, I'm interested to see what kind of where they embed AI that could help shoppers in the future.
I think it's interesting. We've been talking a lot about shopping, which I'm not convinced it happens. Like, look, Walmart had tried that whole Jet Black situation.
Yeah.
Humans can't help shoppers, much less robots. And so I'm not sure it's going to work out so well. But I think there's going to be other areas that AI is going to be useful. And I think one of the places it's going to start with is supply chain and operations. Most people still can't figure out their demand forecast. They can't figure out their inventory forecast. And I think better AI models will certainly help out with those areas. If you're listening and you have comments about what do you think are your best applications for AI, we would love to hear them in the comments. Any other ones on your radar, Kathy?
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned forecasting. So many people who forecast inventory are just looking back, right, at the history. And with AI, there's the potential to look into the future, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to take all these different signals of why your sales were bad in the past. And it isn't just that you're taking your past sales and building on that. There's a lot of other factors, like maybe your lead time wasn't good, or maybe you were out of stock. Or there was other factors. So if there's AI models that can ingest a lot more unstructured data and structure it and be able to serve up better forecasting recommendations, that is a huge unlock for retailers, because inventory is your biggest risk and your biggest opportunity to grow your business. So I think AI is going to be tremendous in inventory forecasting.
Yeah, I love that.
Edward Scott Finnegan in the comments saying, testing AI for SEO keyword and metadata. It's already proving useful. Shout out to Kathy. She called this one.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that. All right. AI is going to be here. This is a regular segment. Thank you for the participation and the Milli Vanilli references. I'm excited that the crowd was like really hyped about Milli Vanilli in this place.
Look, they have a lot of good hits. Don't knock them.
Right. Well, they were more real than Gemini.
That's a true story. And now everyone lip syncs. So they actually probably were pioneers, too early for their time. Shein. And Shein's coming after I think I actually never thought I would believe Amazon would have cold sweats in the night. But I think we're seeing that come out, right?
Here's what happens. Amazon has restructured some of its fees, particularly in apparel. There are 2 major fee changes that they did, in addition to sort of lowering and adding some fulfillment fees. One is items that are less than $15. So apparel fees are generally 17%, like kind of
Yep.
across the board. And so if it's less than $15, then actually they went from 17% to 5%, which is a pretty crazy reduction. And then if the item is between $15 and $20, they probably are. If it's actually went from 17% to 10%. Why else would Amazon do something like this on its own? Is Amazon losing its shine?
Amazon has got this apparel strategy. It really started with like socks and underwear, right? That's where they were getting traction. They wanted to go more up market and get luxury. And then people caught on that you just need to sell some $10 black dresses. And we had this problem at eBay too. And then the marketplace gets flooded. Why is able to come in and do this so quickly? Was it the reach with influencers? Is it just their model where they can quickly kind of be more on trend and Amazon doesn't control the supply chain as much? What are you thinking, Kathy?
Well, to answer your question about Shein, why were they so successful? They create 6,000 new products a day.
Yeah.
So they're very in tune with the influencer and with their end consumers on predominantly social media. So I think the first thing is they have the product right. They're able to react to trends, react to things that are in the, on TV or pop culture, streaming, and make the product. And you're right, Jess, it's the supply chain too that they control. However, I think this is such a smart move by Amazon because I've seen this firsthand where Amazon can change consumers' behavior. 10 years ago, I worked for a furniture mattress brand, and we were selling compressed mattresses online at Amazon, and Amazon made it very lucrative for us to do that. Why? Because then consumers started to change their mindset that they didn't need to go to the local department store to buy their mattress anymore, that they could actually buy a mattress and have it shipped compressed. And I think they're doing the same here with apparel. They've got to drop those fees so that sellers are motivated to put their products up onto Amazon. Consumers will start to have that behavior and go, to your point, Jess, buy that $10 dress on Amazon. And there's enough profit for everybody. But then, of course, we know where this is headed, right? In the next several years, when everybody's addicted to buying fashion on Amazon, that's when they're really going to put it to the sellers and everybody's margins are going to get squeezed. Yeah. But for now, they've got to drop those prices to motivate these sellers who are in these entry price point categories to actually go through the pain of being a seller on Amazon.
Yeah.
Where all the customers are, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, Linda brings up a great point though, because we're talking about the fees here, but the FBA fees are a whole other part of the Amazon ecosystem that Shein doesn't really have to worry about as much, or maybe even a marketplace seller on Shein doesn't have to worry about as much because it's just directly shipped. Will they restructure FBA next?
Well, who knows? I think Linda brings up the absolute perfect point, right? It's the supply chain. Any product under $15 in retail in the United States it's just almost impossible to be profitable selling it with the shipping costs.
Right.
But with that said, Jess, I don't know how profitable it is to ship cross border. I mean, I know they don't have the duty because they're under a certain price point, but there's got to be margin pressures on that side too. But I think your point is a valid one. Maybe we'll see Amazon testing some things with their FBA and bringing those prices down to make it accessible for these sellers in the apparel category.
One of the things that people forget is FBA obviously was originally created to level the playing field for sellers and smooth out the consumer experience. But over the last 10, 15 years, who dominated on Amazon third party? Chinese sellers. 100%. And this was at a time when they didn't have to ship. They couldn't ship overseas because the product wouldn't get there for 2 to 3 weeks, which didn't happen, which you couldn't have a good consumer experience. Amazon FBA kind of leveled that playing field. Chinese sellers, which were the fastest growing segment on Amazon, were all using FBA. Now you can go from Hong Kong, China to any doorstep in the world in 5 days.
That is the loophole that is being used right now by Shein and Temu. It's the small partial international rules that are ultimately enabling what's happening with Shein. And maybe then Amazon does get the upper leg. I guess my last point here is Amazon fashion, still not the nut that they've cracked. Grocery, pharmacy and healthcare. Amazon's big, but can they really tackle all of these in the way that they want to? And are they going to be forced to make a choice at some point? Will they be waving a white flag, and where will it go?
Yeah, I was to say I feel more confident in their ability to do Amazon fashion when it's entry price point fashion, right? I think it's just knowing their place in fashion. Grocery, that's going to be a little bit tougher.
I give a big thumbs down to grocery. And if you're talking about luxury fashion, which we're actually kind of leaves us into our next segment, Amazon has established some partnerships in high-end fashion. I think it's generally going nowhere. Similar
No.
to, can we pour out some liquor for our old Justice friend, eBay Fashion Vault?
Pull it out for my homies. Also, eBay Collective, also ahead of its time.
But this is a good segue to our next segments. Neiman Marcus has actually rejected a $3 billion takeover by Saks. What the heck is happening in luxury fashion right now?
I can't get my head around it. It was what about this offer wasn't good enough given the current state of Neiman's? I hear there's more negotiations. Kathy, I'm sure you probably have a little bit more intel here than I do.
I do have a point of view on this. I love luxury retail. I think for the consumer, it's a little sad if they merge, but the reality is they've been heading in this direction for 10 years. I think the reason this particular deal fell apart is, Neiman Marcus is private equity backed, and we all know what that means. They're trying to find their exit. And so I think it's a negotiating tactic. I think Neiman Marcus has like 36 stores, and Saks has about 41 stores. I think they're going to ultimately have to try to make this merger happen at some point because just the pressure in the luxury market on the margins. This is just the private equity guys playing hard to get because they want to cash out. And I think it's been a painful investment for them. I think they thought it was a lot easier to own a luxury retailer.
Yeah, some days, right? Do you guys remember the big Neiman Marcus catalog that would come out around the holidays? We're talking about the holiday timeframe, and I mean, we would pour over that catalog because it was so aspirational. And they would always have these crazy things, the $10,000 car, and I think that's where Victoria's Secret got the inspiration for the millions of dollar bra or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, it's like, what is happening with Neiman's? Like, will it have a role, especially as more luxury retailers go direct to consumer?
It's a good question. I mean, look, Neiman has been trying to recover. In addition to this offer, they've been trying to get out of debt issue. I mean, I live in New York City. Hello, Hudson Yards anchor tenant was Neiman Marcus. They had this huge floor. Who knows how much they spend building that out? They unloaded it just 3 months ago to Wells Fargo for $500 million, which means, is it like 2 or 3 times as much? That's one thing. Last year, Neiman's took a $200 million investment from Farfetch, which Farfetch last week, they just can't literally straight up canceled their earnings call.
Yeah, far fall. Is that the new name?
Far fall.
Very far fall. Yeah. I mean, Jess, you made a comment about luxury retail. Where does that fit in? I mean, I hope they are able to stay around even if they're merged, because direct to consumer is great, but I think it's inconvenient for the consumer to have to go to each direct to consumer store or direct to consumer site. I don't think that's how most consumers shop. I think there is a place for a luxury retailer. I just think that you have old legacy models of real estate investments and other expensive things that make the model not work. One of the positives could be if they can really get creative and envision a way to be profitable and offer a great customer experience, a better customer experience, where you could get a lot of those brands under one roof.
We've talked about the consumers, and there was this, discount heavy consumer. There was this luxury consumer. Now we're just going to talk about the state of the consumer as we go into our segment, the happiness index. And so we're going to just kick off now and talk about what's going on.
I mean, I'm thinking it's like pretty good.
The overall view here is that people started off soft in October. They were really saving their budgets. Thanksgiving was really the moment that they turned on, and they turned it around. We always see this bump with e-commerce making up more share in Q4, and that makes sense. But we know about 80% of it, the shopping is going to be done in brick and mortar. And what we've looked at recently is this survey that Gallup put out. We can flip to that slide, which is what's happening in December. Because with November closed, Cyber's over. Now we're in the time of shopping. About half of shoppers or most of it are going to do it in the month of December. And I think that's very promising if you're a retailer and you're thinking about where do I sit? Maybe November didn't pan out as much as you want. There's still some dollars to get. We're also seeing there's a lot of male procrastination happening. Maybe they needed to see more of those holiday ads. Maybe they needed to watch the Walmart rom-com for some inspiration and see what were going to be the things that their significant others or partners were pointing to as the hints on the gift list. So I thought that was interesting. And then there was another data point just around age I can speak to. And there was two different specters. So younger shoppers are actually going to do more of their shopping in December versus older shoppers. But the reasons is different. So one is I'm just waiting because I've got to save up my money. Maybe I depleted some funds in November and need that next paycheck to clear. And then I'm going to buy the rest of my gifts. For older generations, the reason that they're waiting is they want to find the right gift. And so if you're out in the market, there's still that time to kind of talk to how you can help those customers, check people off of their wish list. So I think this story, is ultimately that, there's still some shopping to have, but Q1 is going to be really rough, and we're going to go to why. And then I'd love to get you guys your take on it. So this chart is interesting. As the Fed start to raise rates, and then how that growth is continuing to slow over time. And then you can look at what the outlook is. Just kind of leads to a rougher Q1. And then there's one more, which is...
Can we go back to that slide for a second? I mean, that's like not a great trend line.
No, most people don't like when things go down. Yeah, not the best thing, but that's why they call me the holiday cheermeister.
I know. I thought this was the happiness index, not the sadness index.
Well, we've got some good things in there. So let's flip to the last one, which is the retail sales slowing down. Not happy also. But the good news was there's still something to be taken in December. It's just hey, we got to all be prepared for probably the wrath that is the consumer holiday hangover of Q1. It might be the biggest hangover we've ever had. Kathy, I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah, well, what makes me happy is that people are going to be going into stores in December. We have that extra week, so the calendar shifts year to year, the amount of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I think that's going to be positive for the industry. I think the reason why you always see e-commerce really killing it around, Black Friday and Monday and Cyber Monday is because people still are concerned about ship lead times. I mean, yeah, you've got Amazon, but you've got plenty of other brands that take kind of a while to ship. People being concerned that they're not going to get their gifts in time, so they're going to go into stores. And then I love that slide about the men versus the women in shopping. I remember when I worked in the retail stores, how many men specifically were running in on Christmas Eve saying, I need to get something for my girlfriend or my mom or my wife. What do I get? So I have that vision in my head. And I think that's been since the dawn of time, kind of that, where men just like to shop last minute. Shopping's not something that a lot of men particularly like. And so they're probably going to procrastinate.
If we think of this as a trend, it's so funny. I just thought about this. Why don't we see more targeted ads kind of for that use case, right? If people are procrastinating, guys don't know what to get. It's funny. You don't really see that many. There's so much skewing to the women, right? Because we do control a lot of the buying power. But they're probably missing an opportunity to talk directly to hey, we got your back. We're going to help you get this amazing gift that you'll love.
And they miss opportunity for margins, in the companies that I worked for, we'd get nervous. We'd start taking the big markdowns right before Christmas, especially when I was in a category when I was at Gap Body doing sleepwear and loungewear, we would get nervous. We'd drop the price, but that is right when the men are buying those as gifts. So, but nobody wants to be stuck with, reindeer pajamas the day after Christmas. So
it's always logically people aren't going to worry about what the price is, right? They just need to get it. But on being on the retail side, you're thinking, oh, like you said, we can't be stuck with this inventory. Let's do the slash and burn. So any other thoughts before we close out?
Men aren't targeted because it sounds like we do what Kathy says we do, which is walk into the store and ask the sales rep.
But pretty soon there's going to be an AI bot that they have to talk to, right? And then something spits out. That's where we're going.
And then I'll just leave on, I know this was the happiness index, but I do agree. I think Q1 is going to be tough. So I think for everybody out there, There's always working on your business and in your business. This is an opportunity to work on your business in Q1 so that you're prepared and ready to go when things start to turn upwards in Q2 and Q3 of next year.
Cautiously optimistic, right?
Yes.
It's just the Fed high, let's see what the Feds do with the rates.
Clark Griswold said, you got to be happy regardless of what happens here. Speaking of happiness, one of the ways that we like to end the program, Kathy, I don't know if you've seen it. We have a dance party. And so I know Jess and I have been waiting to see your moves all week.
Mhm.
boy.
And so I think we're going to queue up the music.